Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the second day here at IFX Expo Asia 2024. We hope last night's IFX Expo night party was as energizing as today's sessions will be. As you all know, in a short moment, we're going to be starting the first session of today. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're here right now, take a seat, grab a pair of headphones, make sure the light is blue, and put them on. You can hear all of our sessions from each panelist through the headphones. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so let's kick off another exciting day with a session that shines a spotlight on the importance of ESG and explores the challenges and opportunities it presents for FinTech firms. Please ensure that all provided headsets return to the collection points at the end of each session. So, ladies and gentlemen, please give a big warm welcome for Mike Reed, Director at Pelican and Offset Trading, who will be guiding us through the panels on ESG, a call for action. The floor is yours. So, ladies and gentlemen, can we have a big round of applause?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Firstly, well done everyone for coming along this morning. It's 11 o'clock on the second day, so you probably got sore heads because of the party last night. So very impressed that you've made it to the first of the Idea Hub's sessions. So well done and thanks for turning up. We obviously are covering ESG, which is obviously environmental, social, and the governance issues facing companies. It's my background is we provide software to broker partners, but we've actually developed a product that's called offset trading, and it's really through demand that we've seen our brokers go, hey, we'd like to start to meet the mandated demands by governments, but also internal requests for them to become ESG compliant. And our offset trading product is really about allowing the broker to extend to their client base the ability for them to make pledges to environmental causes. And there's lots of benefits to that, not just because it meets the ESG standards, but also because, interestingly, you can optimize an ESG requirement to actually enhance your marketing, to actually drive traffic, and actually to win clients that possibly wouldn't use your product anyway, because now it's more compliant. And with the younger audiences who have an eye on the environment, have an eye on social and an eye on governance, it's a real winner for them as well. So it's not just you meeting an internal requirement, it's actually a useful marketing tool as well. So I'm joined by two excellent speakers. We've got Ross and Okka. We're going to deep dive into the conversations, but I'll let first them introduce themselves. So I'll hand over to Ross so he can explain who he is, what his background is, and why he's on this panel. So over to you, Ross.
Hi, I'm Ross Stevenson. Had a career in banking finance. I had about 12 years working with UBS. I was based in London, Switzerland, France, Italy, and India with them. And I've also had some experience in working with the New Zealand government in economic development. And I also put my hand in a startup. I was the founder of a couple of startups about 10 years ago. But yeah, now I'm working with $Smart Global. We're a sort of Southeast Asia business. We've been in business 10 years, since 2014. So we're an SME, but we've got a strong heart, and we do care about our local communities. And we've put together some programs I'll share with you later. And just a bit of background about our company. We're a sort of cross-border payment solution. We have our shared service office in Chiang Mai in Thailand, where most of our staff are based. So we hire locally there, and we support local community activities there, which I'll tell you more about later. And we have a payments license in Hong Kong and Australia, and we're hopefully soon in Thailand and Singapore and Malaysia. So
excellent. Thank you, Ross. Yeah, and Okka, if you'd like to introduce yourself as well.
Sure. My name is Okka. I ran a startup called RecyGlo. So it sounds like waste management, but it is not just the waste management platform. We do compliance services for the businesses. We do GI, SASB, TCFD compliance. So the company, they are about to go listed in one of the Southeast Asia stock exchange, for example, set in Thailand, in the SGX in Singapore, and Hong Kong Stock Exchange, they need to do all the compliance. So we help the companies to do their non-financial compliance, so that they can raise the funding. They can also list it. Also, like for example, in next year in Thailand, Thailand will have a carbon tax. So they have to prepare a lot of documentations, and we come in as a service provider to help these companies. So we are a PaaS and SaaS company. We are a platform as a service, also software as a service. And my background is I was a trained engineer. I worked in Scandinavia for 5-6 years. I worked in the US, and I moved to the financial sector. I was in the Bridgewater and Ernst & Young. Now I'm leading a startup in Southeast Asia. We are a Singaporean holding company. We have 6 subsidiaries in the region.
Thank you very much, Okka. So I think what we're going to try and do today is we're going to give you an idea of some of the initiatives that a company can do to try and become ESG compliant, either with your own internal requirements or even if they're mandated by the government. And then we're going to extend the conversation into, look, it's not just about meeting the requirements that you've set, but how can you use those to benefit the company as a whole? So don't look at them as just a box of exercises to tick, but actually can you help it grow the company as well and extend out to a new market? So Ross, if we start with you, could you take us through some of the initiatives that your company have looked at in terms of meeting an ESG requirement, and why it's specifically you've picked those initiatives initially as a priority over the other ones?
Sure. So maybe I'll split it into 2 groups. One I would call sort of sustainable business practices. And a key one for us, because we're in the money service business, is just having strong ethics and transparent reporting. So that's a big focus. We've got a very strong compliance team, and we make a big effort to meet all the local regulations and the regulations where we have our money service licenses. And I think that gives us an element of trust with our customers, which is, I think, a good selling point in the money service business. Other activities, we're a FinTech, so we've got digital first approach. We largely try and operate a paperless office. In Thailand, that's a bit hard because some of the government regulations make you print out documents, but where we can, everything's paperless. With our customers, everything's online. So we think that helps drive a sustainable environment. And also to maybe office practices, we do focus heavily on diversity. It's one of our core values. We hire locally in Chiang Mai. We try and support underprivileged groups. We've got recently employed a couple of people from Myanmar who are experiencing political issues there. So giving a couple of people career opportunities in Thailand from that society. And then in the local community, we've got what we call community programs. So we've focused on some underprivileged orphanages in the community, and in Thailand, and some of them are sort of largely underfunded, under-resourced. So we think there's a huge opportunity we can help. So we've kicked off a relationship this year with 4 orphanages. And we are providing care packages like nutrition care packages to the kids. We're setting up financial and digital literacy and mentoring programs so our staff can engage with the kids and sort of give them early, business skills so they get ahead. And
So just, Ross, on that note, are those internal initiatives that you've been doing, or have you been trying to look at governmental mandated requirements?
No, it's more out of what feels right to help, and also it fits in with the ESG requirements as well. So I think it's a win-win. We've also, recently there was flooding in Chiang Mai. The staff pitched together, raised some funds, packed care packages, and we transported them to some of the flood-stricken communities. We're also looking at a wildlife refuge in northern Thailand, where it's very underfunded. So we're seeing how we can help them. We're engaging them. We think if we can provide some funding and support, we can help rebuild some of their damaged enclosures to protect the local wildlife. And another thing we care about is clean air. So you may be aware, in Chiang Mai is one of the most polluted cities in the world. Around March and April every year, a lot of burnings and there's sort of bad practices that happen. So we're sort of engaging local thought leaders and seeing how we can make a difference supporting them. I think that's a long-term goal, but it's something we care passionately about. And it does affect all our staff. Some of the days it's hard to get into the office because it's just, 200 plus 2.5.
Do you have? So I sit on this one. Do you have someone internally who's a full-time employee that's overseeing these requirements, or is it collectively the board sits and goes, well, that's a great idea, or that will help meet this internal requirement, or?
Yeah, I mean, the reason we selected these, I think we care about them. We think we've got some expertise that can help. They're practical to implement, and we can see the value they add, and it engages the staff. I think it gives them more of a purpose just than working, that they can help the local communities.
So staff will both work on their day-to-day projects as well as dipping their toe in some of these ESG things as a side project for them to help manage.
Yeah, and it's probably myself with the HR lead and her support that we sort of set up and run the programs and engage staff. Yeah. I manage the finance team, so we're sort of looking into we'll talk about later, the ESG reporting guidelines and what's appropriate.
Nice, thank you. Over to you, Okka. So what, coming from your perspective, which is a company that helps companies become ESG compliant, are you finding that you can go in and try and promote the idea of ESG straight off the bat, or do you find that it's the government mandated requirements that are actually the big driver for you? So you'll target companies that know they're under pressure to meet the ESG requirements, and therefore then you can go and help them try and conform to them. Is that your way or your approach, or you find private companies as well are doing it, like Ross's?
Excellent questions. The persuading the company to listen to the call for ESG is always challenging because there's a very fine line between the CSR and ESG. CSR is, you are doing it because this is what you can do it. But ESG is more like a mandate. Like if you do full compliance, you have to do not just environmental or not just social, but also governance as well. You have to restructure your organizations, have a specific team. But to do that, you need to have financial resources. But not a lot of companies have that kind of resources. So a lot of companies, they will do it what they can do at the moment and put it in their CSR report. So the call for ESG, especially in the region, not just in Thailand, but also even in Singapore, is unless the government tell them to do so, they will not do it. It's all about making more revenue and less cost. That's the normal ultimate goal of the management, right? I mean, that's what you see normally. So if the government tell the regulations, then they will do it, or they have other sort of incentive. So what we do is we help the companies to raise funding. So we have a lot of companies that go out and raise the funding from the Middle East, also from Scandinavia. Then they have a very particular requirement that they have to follow. So the finance agency from Scandinavia, they will ask for do you have a ESG report? You have a GI standard report. If you are raising funding, for example, from Norfund, Norwegian is a government funding agency, they will ask you. Then the companies here, they're making a lot of revenue, but they have no idea how to do it. Then they will ask for the consultant. Normally it's a Big Four, Bilusi, all these Big Four company, or a big consulting firm like McKinsey or BCG or Bain, and then they would. Then they're not very specialized, I would say, and they have the financial knowledge, but they're not very specialized. So what happened is they will hire back people like us as a consultants, or they will use our technical tools to generate the reporting and compliance for those companies. So it's very much it's a very new market. It's still a very niche market, but we approach the company from a financial perspective. So we tell the company you can make more money with this product, or you can also reduce the cost. Because if you talk about ESG, energy is a big concern, right? You're saving energy, reducing the energy. So we come in with the energy or carbon perspective, especially the coming regulation in Thailand. Thailand is going to charge the company for the carbon tax. In Vietnam, there will be we call it extended producer responsibility. So if you are Nestle or Unilever or a big FMCG company, you produce the 10,000 ton of waste, you have to recycle or manage 10,000 ton of waste. So we approach with government guideline, also with the normal company goal, right? Making more money and less cost, then they will listen to you. That's what's happening.
Do you find that they go through a tick box exercise? They're like the big companies that have got to comply. They're going, let's just tick those boxes and we've done that job. But actually, or do they find that when they engage in it and you understand the benefits of it, they become much more than a tick box exercise? They're looking for the actual benefits that it can extend, and they take it a bit more seriously. So it's not just going, oh, tick, 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 we're quality, we've met the standards, and off they go. Or is your job also to go, no, don't just do that. If you stick to it and keep going, you'll see there'll be underlying benefits too.
Yes. So when you engage with a company, they're normally the HR or finance team. They don't want to deal with you because it's just the same pay but more jobs for them. So what we tell them is like, we are here to help you to take away your worries and and then really do the compliance job for you. So we are your outsource team. Then they change their perspective. So that's how we engage to the local team. But right now the approach mostly comes from the top down. It's either they have an investment. For example, we are a Series A stage company. Then our BOD it's from Norway and UAE. They tell us like, you have to do this, you do that, and then we also do that too. I think it's mostly come from the top down approach because you have funds on the fund. For example, like the funds on the fund, like Allianz from Germany, they have the mandate to do ESG. So they have a lot of company invested in Thailand. I'm sure you know these companies, and then they will also ask these companies to do it. Some big Thailand company also involved. So right now top down. So but essentially underlying the scenario, you have a lot of benefits. For example, marketing is really good and a great way to do marketing. Also, product differentiation. You can really differentiate from just a normal product and create a real sustainability. Like when you try to build a company that will last for many, many years to come. Yeah. It's especially helpful if you plan to exit or if you plan to sell this company or if you plan to list this company. So I think you should do this if you're looking for the long-term investment. Yeah.
So it's interesting because you're right. I mean, we sort of touched on it at the very beginning, but if you get it right, certainly from a marketing perspective. So obviously, we're here at the IFX and a lot of brokers here. Brokers sometimes use the same sort of platform, and it's a branding that they've got to differentiate. So they're all using Meta or C-Trader, but they're all similar. So how do you differentiate the product? And actually, if you're trying to appeal to a younger audience or another audience, having different marketing initiatives that you can do to say, hey, we're a bit different. And actually using these ESG mandated requirements that you've got, you can actually flip them on the head and go, okay, yes, we're qualified, but also, hey, the type of people that we can attract and recruit to actually use a product will actually want us to be doing these. They want to go to us because we actually meet these standards, and a competitor over there isn't doing it at all. And so actually from a marketing perspective, we find that we sit down with marketing teams and they absolutely love it. They're like, great, because we've got another point of reference that we can push as a differential against our competitors. So it really can be used. I mean, the other side is obviously recruitment. If you're trying to recruit internally and you're looking like a really healthy, supportive, company, then recruitment into your own team as an HR, I suppose, perspective, it's really important, isn't it? Yeah. Ross, back over to you. I mean, what do you find when you're trying to implement these ESG standards? Are there other governmental sort of standards that you're making reference to when you're trying to do it, or is it just simply an internal reference that you guys are trying to reach?
We call it a blended approach, where we've researched various the ISO environmental standards, global reporting initiatives, social accountability standards, and also locally we're applying for payments licenses in Singapore, where there's the Monetary Authority of Singapore. They've actually got guidelines as well, so we're looking into those. And also in Malaysia, we're applying for guidelines. The Central Bank of Malaysia also has guidelines. So we're referencing all those, but I guess we're also have to be nimble and practical. We haven't got a big team, so we referencing those, and with a view to this could be scalable. One day, we could do an IPO, for instance, and we want to be in a scalable position with our ESGs. So that adds a difference, and I think it just adds, like you were saying, adds a point of difference. It engages our staff, gets them more motivated. I think we were able to sort of present our community program to the Money 2020 event in April. We had a sort of a party and we presented our ESG, our community service program. So we've got a number of people who have sort of given their acknowledgement that they will support us next year. So the idea is that we set it up this year, prove that it works, and then scale it up so we can help local communities more in Thailand.
Yeah. I mean, certainly we find recruitment one of the most expensive exercises. So if you can do less of it because you're retaining your staff, then obviously that helps. So giving a sense of culture that's got longevity to it means obviously staff retention's higher, and therefore there's not a high turnover.
And also it's not just a one-off tick-the-box program where there's a genuine commitment, to support, say, the orphanages for the long term. So they feel they've got a partner that they can trust and rely on.
I suppose one's got to be quite careful from both sides. It's obviously very beneficial to the recipient that you're working with, but also internally it's quite useful as well. So you've got to make sure that one's not overshadowing the other, and both are bearing in mind. Okka, have you noticed that have these ESG requirements, these mandates coming from Singapore, for example, has that increased the demand for the sort of service you're providing, and has that worked to your benefit? And can you see the ESG requirements increasing, the more government mandates coming out, in Thailand or in Vietnam, wherever it might be, and actually, instead of it's a nice to have, you can see it actually going to be, everyone's going to have to be in a position, so you might as well get on with it now.
Right. The market is definitely increasing, but as a service provider, as a tech platform, as a software company focusing on ESG, we cannot have a nice to have market. It has to be a significantly big market. So when we approach to the different companies, so we have to approach from the different angles. Most companies have a CSR budget, so we can talk to the CSR team, and then they're like, oh yes, you can use the budget from the CSR team for now if you don't have a budget for the ESG, because a lot of the company, they will only look for the quarterly or the yearly, because it makes sense for them, right? You have to report it to their BOD, and they expect the return. So we have to speak their language and approach them, and then find a way to find the budget. So the market is increasing because of the government in Singapore, government in Hong Kong, government from Europe. They're really pushing hard because the world is it's changing, and everyone feel it, right? We have a floodings. I don't want to scare everyone, but it is really happening. So longevity and sustainability, you need to have this solution. But we also have to speak the quarterly and yearly term language to talk to the company. So what we do is, if they invest for the long term, that's good. But you are also investing for the short term to save cost. Then they will listen to you. But the government regulation is coming, but it's very slow. We cannot wait for them to be in effect. We have to do it right now. We told them this is urgent. You have to do this. You do this for the Ross mentions like recruitment. You do this for this and that, right? So that's kind of push. We always push it. We push it with the with peer-to-peer pressure. We push it with the FOMO, fear of missing out. We push it with this company, your competitor is doing it. Why don't you do it? I think we're creating the market, and we do that by working and mobilizing with the community. And of course, that's why we're not only in Thailand, or we're not only in one market. We have to aggregate all the market in the region, like Australia, Southeast Asia, because the market is still very small. So you cannot just stay in Indonesia, just to just become a unicorn. But you have to aggregate the whole market and then have a significant potential to serve this company.
Okay, thank you for that. And so I'm going to ask the same question to both of you, but I'll start with Ross. If you were a new company, an SME, small company now, with no policy or plan in place, what would be your advice to them? How would you give them some advice on how to initially start into an ESG program? If they haven't got anything in place, and what should they be looking for?
Yeah, I would look to your strengths in your team, expertise and passions, and see where there's an alignment between what your team is capable of supporting. And also, with your company strategy, we're a FinTech, so it sort of makes sense to have a digital first strategy, for instance. And also, what's possible to implement. I mean, I guess cost effective versus high impact. How can you add the most impact? And I think we had that sort of conversation about a year ago, and we came up with the plans that we have today. So that would be the key advice: make it practical, be agile, that you can course correct if it's not working, and do things which you generally care about and your team will care about, and that passion, I think, will drive it forward faster and more effectively.
Okay, great. I mean, it's actually work with your strengths then, and really make sure that you're utilising the interest, the skills that you have, and then obviously, you could increase and decrease certain aspects, and really, I mean, Okka, from your perspective, what would be your advice, given you're a consultancy that helps people meet those standards? If they were starting out, would they immediately engage with a consultancy and an expertise like yourself, or would you say there are initiatives they can do before that?
They can do it before that. They can prepare like documentations for environmental and social governance to start with the strength, and then we slowly work on that. So when they come to us, then if they are trying to save the code, we can just provide them the software. They just do it by themselves. If they are looking for the 10-key solution, we can provide them a 10-key solution. But the point is, like a lot of companies have a different requirement. So maybe like they don't want to look for the long-term investment. Like for example, we work with a lot of tourism company in Thailand. They're looking for the green certification. Then to get the green certification, you need to have like standards. Like for example, waste management. You need to have like specific sort of documentations. So we help these companies to get these standards and documentations. So they get a lot of requirement, right? So for example, ISO 9001 is a very popular standards certification in Thailand. It's also in the region. So we help this company. I mean, this is also like part of the ESG as well. So I think a lot of smaller companies, I think previously you asked about the SME, they are looking for the certification. Also, they are looking to export to European market or US market. Then they will come to us, and then they will help. They will ask for the help.
Okay, excellent. And so I'll stay with you on this one. So if we fast forward 5 years from now, certainly in the regional, sort of the Asia Pacific region, what are the key differences or the changes you can see happening? Do you think everyone's going to be having an ESG standard, or you think the mandates will be across all governmental regions, and therefore, it's inevitable, you've got to start to meet these standards, you might as well get on with it now? How do you feel the landscape's going to change?
So I do believe that the landscape will be more or less synchronized. Okay. So right now you have so many standards like GI, SASB, TCFD. You have so many frameworks, but no one actually agree on one. It's similar to the carbon credit market. You have a voluntary market like gold standard, or you have a you have a mandatory market. But the region and they will emerge as or agree to like one or two standards. So I think it's actually happened before. IFRS, the financial standard, right? And you have a gap in the US. So I think the region will come and agree to the more or less one or two standard, and then that will be the agreed upon standard for ASEAN. So I'm very hopeful the market will be bigger, and the company are also actually now knowing more about the visionary leaders. I think Ross really understand the strength really well. I was talking with a company, like they are about to go list in the set. It's a washing machine company. They know the value of it because they are raising the money in UAE, and they are about to go list in the set. So a lot of the visionary leaders, if you're the SME company, if you want to be a listing company, whatever it is, as long as you have the visions, they will believe in that vision because it brings the longevity for your company. So that is the essence, right?
Yeah. So if you want some staying power, if you want to be here for a long time, it's just it brings the company, it makes it a much healthier company, exactly, internally and externally, and obviously it helps strengthen growth and abilities to market beyond just initial borders into regulated. We're coming towards the end, so I'm just going to go between both of you. We'll start with you, Ross. Could you give one example of an initiative that you've done which has been the most successful? Just cherry pick one, and then also, could you just give one piece of advice? If the audience here were going to take one piece of advice away from your perspective, what would that be, in terms of implementation or approach? So those two questions just to wrap up from your perspective.
Yeah, in my last role in UBS, I was also part of a CSR program, which later linked into an ESG reporting initiative. I was based different cities across India, and Delhi and Pune, Hyderabad. and we kicked off a program supporting local underprivileged schools. And yeah, we got massive support. I mean, there's very high staff numbers there.
Okay.
So we had up to like 7,000 staff.
Oh, wow.
So, you could actually do some amazing
Yep.
things. So we, went out and identified local schools that needed support, and we would have big working bees, improving their classrooms, providing sort of latest electronic devices and school facilities. And that program felt like it really added a huge difference to some underprivileged kids.
Yeah,
So.
excellent. And then if you're going to give one piece of advice to anyone here, if they were going to start an ESG initiative today, what would be the pearl of wisdom you impart on them?
Yeah, I mean, I think giving to the community, I mean, it's surprising once you engage people how much they enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I'd really, try something and get your staff involved and see what what impact it has. And I think you'll be surprised. And then from there it can grow. And so I think the power of helping, giving back is quite powerful.
Yeah, okay, interesting. And Okka, over to you. If you were going to give one key piece of advice to a new company here, or even an existing company that has no ESG policy, where do you think that they should start? What would be the first thing they'd do as step one? If they were going to leave this trade show today and start an initiative tomorrow, what would be the best place to start?
I think if you are a small company, my recommendation is make ESG fun, make sustainability fun, make your CSR fun, because everything can be environmental, social, governance aspect, right? So it's a must thing to do, because you are looking for the short term, medium term, and long term. So as long as you keep that in mind, that will be a requirement. That will be a mandatory requirement for your business. Like you do accounting for your monthly basic. Like for in Thailand, you have to do like a trial balance every month and submit to the government. So it's the same thing. It's gonna be the requirement. So you better be prepared before all these things come in. And then when it's time come, you are ready. And it's actually good for you for marketing, recruitment, branding, reputation. So you just start from the day one and then integrate it in your corporate culture or company culture of the company. Then that will have a huge benefits for your success. So that's a message. Success / the sustainability.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean that's I think the key message here is it's not just about ESG standards, because it makes you holistically feel good from the inside, but also from the outside it's hugely beneficial for the longevity of the company. Yes. And actually for the staff and everyone involved in it, it's just good for everybody. It's kind of a win-win-win, but it may seem at the beginning a bit daunting. It may seem a bit of a burden, but actually, ultimately, it forms a healthier and happier company, and it benefits local communities and the environment and everything else. I think we're out of time. I was going to say any questions, but I think we're going to be told we're out of time anyway. So thank you very much again for everyone for coming. Appreciate it, obviously, coming in at 11 o'clock on the day 2 of the trade show. But have a really good rest of the trade show. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Ross.